Greetings YouTube, JC, Bad Edit Pro with a video about audio, and it's the first video for me for the year 2011, and it is about a Phono cartridge. Today we're going to talk about the Audio-Technica CN5625AL, which is a cartridge you have probably never heard of. This is a good array of pictures of the cartridge, and it comes from OaktreeVintage.com, which is an excellent site if you'd like to buy restored audio equipment. We're going to talk about this cartridge, and we're going to do a little review of the year because it's been just about a year since I got into vinyl after being away from it for 17 years, and we'll talk a little bit about cartridges in general at the end of this video. The Audio-Technica CN5625AL comes in this little bitty box. It's about 1.5 inches tall and about 1 inch square if you look at it from the top or bottom. The cartridge comes with no literature of any kind. The only thing that's in here is the cartridge with a stylus cover and a little bag with some screws and nuts and washers to mount it to a head shell. This is what you would call an industrially packaged cartridge because it's not really consumer friendly. I mean, if you think about it, Shure sells cartridges with screwdrivers and all the hardware that you could possibly ever need and extra leads for your head shell. Audio-Technica has chosen to be very minimalist in what you get with this particular cartridge. The 5625 is a modest-looking cartridge once you get it mounted in your head shell. Audio-Technica claims that this cartridge can be mounted on any turntable with any style tone arm that requires a 1/2 inch head shell, whether the head shell is removable or not. I think it's pretty safe to say the cartridge is not going to win any contests for style or beauty, but we don't buy them to look at, we buy them to listen to. So let's talk a bit about the specifications, and as we go along here, I'll give you my impressions of what I heard today. The frequency response, 20 to 20,000, that's pretty standard for Audio-Technica cartridges. I think this cartridge actually does it. It's got a very nice high end, very silky smooth top end, very clear and defined mids, and one of the nice things about it is that the bass response is a bit better than what I've heard from a lot of Audio-Technica cartridges that I've played with. Definitely has more bass to it than the AT95E that I have, and it has probably more bass than the 440 MLA that I've heard as well. It does about the same as the old ATP2, which is a cartridge that I've talked about in past videos that came with my original Audio-Technica turntable, the LP120 that I bought and got rid of. So the sound is very similar, but this one has a little bit crisper high end. So if you're used to that cart, you know what I'm talking about. Channel separation is listed at 20 at 1 kilohertz and 15 at 10 kilohertz. This is a very conservative rating. As a matter of fact, this cartridge has the best stereo imaging that I've heard thus far. It even rivals or surpasses the Stantons that are rated at 28 that I've talked about on this channel. So as far as stereo is concerned, I was absolutely blown away. It's amazing how good it sounds. Tracking force is listed at 1.5 to 3 grams. And once again, since we're dealing with a spherical stylus, it's expressed in a range. How do you find what works for you? Well, you just keep cranking it up until the distortion goes away. As a general rule of thumb, start with 2 and then work your way up. I'm tracking mine at 2.5 right now. When the cartridge breaks in a little bit, I may back that down to 2. But 2.5 is definitely a good number to start at. You could try 2 if you don't get a lot of splatter, and if it sounds all right, stay with it. It's not going to affect anything but the quality of the audio. However, I wouldn't try tracking it at 1.5. You're going to get a lot of splatter and might damage your records that way. Going on down here, the output, 4.2 millivolts. That's pretty middle of the road. It's not a high output cartridge by any stretch of the imagination. Neither is it a low output, so it'll work nicely with most Phono preamps, either in a receiver or outboard, which is kind of cool. Interesting thing here is that the channel balance is rated at 1.5. There are more expensive cartridges that are rated at 2.0. You'll see that number all the time. A lot of the Shure cartridges are. Well, let me tell you, if your channels are out of balance by 2 dB, let's say the right is hotter than the left, whatever, it's like panned, it'll sound like it's panned over to one side in a pair of headphones. 1.5, not too bad. My cartridge, it's dead on center. It seems to be working nicely as far as channel balance is concerned. Stylus shape, 0.7 mil spherical. which is, in my opinion, the best shape of spherical stylus. 0.7 is the standard width of a stereo groove. There are some 0.6s floating around on cartridges. I don't think they sound as good. They ride lower in the groove, and if you're going to be playing old mono records, that's really going to bring up the trash at the bottom of the groove, because pre-stereo mono records that were made in the 50s and 60s have 1 mil grooves on them. So a 0.6 is just about half the width of that, and it's going to ride pretty low in the groove and pick up a lot of trash. And we've already talked about the fact that it's a half-inch mount. Now, there is another cartridge to compare this to that Audio-Technica makes. That's the AT3600. And I don't know whether these are still in production from Audio-Technica where you can buy them on the street, but LP Gear has them. And if we go down and look at the specifications, I wanted you to notice that we're once again dealing with a 0.6 mil conical stylus. The other specifications are fairly close to that one, but that is the real attraction with the CN5625AL, is that 0.7 mil stylus. And of course, since it is a conical stylus, you're going to get less distortion, and you can back cue your records safely. The cantilever is not designed for like heavy beat mixing or scratching or anything, but if you want to back cue the records, you should be okay. So this is a very interesting little cartridge, and here's the fun part. Let me show you this. How much do you think you're going to pay for this? Well, they're selling it for $25 at Needle Doctor, which is not a bad price. The replacement stylus for this cartridge, by the way, also sells for $25 at Needle Doctor. And if you do a little searching around, you may be able to find them even less expensive than that. So for the amount of money that you pay, the audio quality is incredible. And unlike the Ortophon that I last reviewed with a conical tip stylus, this cartridge does not emphasize vinyl noise. So that's another thing that I can say positively about it. Well, if you've watched the video this far, then I can say one thing about you. You must be a little bit nuts. But that's okay, because I am too. Why do I post so many videos about phono cartridges? I actually get that asked. Why am I going through them the way I am? Because when I first started getting into high-fidelity audio years ago, I was searching for the perfect low-cost phono cartridge. Then I found a Pickering phono cartridge. Pickering's out of business. And so you can't get them no more. And even if I could get an old one like the one I had, probably wouldn't be up to snuff. Cartridges are kind of perishable. They only last 10 or 15 years, and then, you really got to get a new one. Anyhow, I was just noticing here on my page that I have posted a lot of videos about cartridges. And I get a lot of comments from people asking me, they say, will this cartridge work on my turntable? Is this what I need? And the answer to that question is, I don't really know. Turntables are different, preamps are different, receivers are different sound. And there's the personal preference thing. A cartridge is a transducer, like speakers or headphones or microphones. And each one has its own personality. So therefore, what sounds good to you may not sound good to me, and vice versa. I like to hear clarity. I don't want to hear distortion. I think that what a lot of people hear that they think is detail on a record is actually that little edgy distortion that you get. That's not detail. It's distortion, folks. So my ears are looking for warm, clean, and low distortion. Your ears might like a little distortion. Might sound good to you. So I'd be glad to answer anybody's questions about phono cartridges. I've been doing this for a year. But keep in mind, it's a highly personal choice. And if you're just getting into vinyl for the first time, do a little research. Get you a good turntable and a good middle-of-the-road cartridge to start. Then you can figure out what you like, and you can upgrade in any direction. Thanks for watching. JC, Bad Edit Pro. Looking forward to another year of esoteric audio talk here on YouTube.